Hello, Elysia. Nice to finally meet you. I'm so excited to have you on the show today and explore brilliance, explore the need to be in the flesh, in person, along with all of our beautiful online stuff that we do, and really explore some of these topics about aligned abundance and really opening ourselves to ourselves in life.
Every day there is a forgetting, and every moment there is the possibility of remembering. Remembering who you truly are, awakening to your body, to the inner world, to the experience of being alive. Here is where you find the beauty, the joy, and here is where you free your soma. I'm your host, Aimee. I'm here to help you move from pain to power, from tension to expansion, and ultimately from fear to love.
I love it. Thank you, Aimee. It's so fun to be here. I love your show, and I'm so glad that we're collaborating today in this way because we have so much in common.
Yes, absolutely. And, when we started this conversation before we started recording, and the first thing you said was about being in person and being together. And that really resonated with me. I felt like it was a really like personally important subject for me at this time and very much fits this kind of thread of like embodiment, like how do we be in our bodies together and with each other, right? And all of the things that provides, whether, that's challenges or whether that's like really beautiful releasing that goes on when we come together in groups where we get to like really ground and relax. So I'd love to just ask you, and maybe this is a good opportunity for you to sort of introduce yourself as well. Like, what is so valuable about being embodied in today's world?
Well, I am very intuitive. It's a big part of what I do. I do a lot of intuitive coaching, a lot of business coaching, but it comes from that embodied place of mindfulness, presence, energetic alignment, knowing who you are. If you don't know what it is you want or what your exact gifts are, I help you create that. I do a lot of mindfulness speaking, workshop facilitation for a lot of corporate clients too. I have some great clients who don't mind blending a little bit of the energy work in because they know that people need it now more than ever. Over 80% of the population considers themselves spiritual in some way. So, of course, it makes sense for these different businesses and teams of all sizes to bring people like us in to facilitate and start having these conversations around self-compassion, compassionate communication, and of course, being together, especially in such a remote work society that's occurred in the last 4 years, as we were kind of talking about offline, 5 years now. It's crazy. And with the idea of being together, you know what's crazy? It sparked it. I held this event in 2022 and I invited a handful of my clients to come visit me here in Nashville. And my background is actually in video production. I was a producer in Los Angeles for a long time. And I said, I have all these amazing clients who are coaches and healers and writers and body workers. I was like, you guys, you don't have videos on your website. Your social media doesn't have any video. Like video is the way. Like video killed the radio star, right? Even now, video podcasts are more and more popular these days, and people are clipping out, conversations like this for their socials, and I love it. So I said, let's come together, and I'm just going to produce a bunch of videos for you guys, and we'll do meditation, and we'll do all the stuff we do, right? And then we did it. It was hugely successful. And then when everybody left, I felt this void, Aimee. I was like, come back. And I'm like actually quite introverted. I was like, what's this about? Like, come back, right? That need to just be together that we don't realize we actually have so much until we experience it and then we fill that void, right? So this is like the craziest thing I ever did. Not really, but it's up there. I sent a text to everyone who was like they're on a plane. I texted all of them, and then I sent a text to maybe a dozen or so other people that I love so much, clients and colleagues and friends. And I said, everybody come back. You're going to come back around the fall equinox, and we're going to do a goddess gathering. And I called it Clarity Camp, just like whatever, downloaded it. And we're going to do all the energetics. Just come back. If I know you're coming back, I'm gonna chill, right? And everyone's like, yes, coming back. We'll rebook my like coming back, coming back. And like everybody came and it was magical. I'm like, I love the online space. I love coaching, teaching. I love that you and I get to do this. like we now get to be connected to incredible people, even like our mentors, our heroes. I had Gay Hendricks on my podcast who
Yeah.
wrote The Big Leap, like dream guests, like things like that get to happen now because of the internet. But man, when we had that first clarity camp, we've already done a second one, third one's coming up next year. It's like magic is the only word to describe it. Magic, transformation, unveiling, letting go, healing. It's like there's a reason why tribal communities existed, why there are blue zones. Like when you study the blue zones and you see the things they have in common, one of them is community. So, especially now, there's so much going on in society, politically, there's so much divide. It's like we need to be together.
Oh yeah, I feel you. I feel you. And it's interesting because when we kind of got pushed into all this distance, physical distance, like what would they call it? Social distancing. That's what it was called. Like we were literally not
Yeah.
supposed to be like more than 6 feet from each other. It was very intense, and there was a
Yeah.
lot of fear and anxiety surrounding that. We were sort of forced out of these public, convening spaces. And then there was a kind of a trauma, that went on collectively, I think, in people about that. But what it did was it forced us into the ether. It forced us into this energetic plane where now, like you said, we're so much more tuned in to how can I connect over Zoom. Personally for me, I'm a body worker. Like my modality is hands-on body work. And I had to, during the pandemic, figure out a way to finish my training online with movement only.
Wow,
It was
that's amazing.
big challenge, but it was magnificent because, and then I taught movement classes through the pandemic online, and I'm very good at working online, but it doesn't change the fact that what I do is a hands-on modality. And the deepest, most impactful change comes from the hands-on person to person, nervous system to nervous system touch work. So I feel you that yes, we got pushed into this like separation. And now because of that contrast, we're really realizing how much we really need to be in that embodied physical presence with each other. You know,
Oh
it's
my gosh.
it's like kind of full circle, like, oh, now I know like why it was so important for me to have these in-person gatherings or go to a place where everyone is convening, because I know because it got taken away from me for a period of time.
It's interesting. Okay, there's so many things there. So I don't remember the exact study, and it's actually kind of sad, but there was some study done in the last 100 or so years where they had two chimpanzees and one they both like weren't given very much food or any at all. And one was held the whole time and one was not, and the one who wasn't held died. And the one who was held was able to survive even without all that food, right? So there's something there about what you're saying about the body and touch and just feeling loved, knowing that we're loved. Not everybody has physical touch as their priority love language, but we are supposed to be held, even if we're holding ourselves in some way.
Yes.
But there's something about just that chemical reaction, like how I had Ira Israel on my podcast recently, and he talked about again. I'm so sorry to share another sad animal story here, but there was some story about they put this mama bunny and these other like baby bunnies like separate from really, really far away, like thousands of miles away. And then they had hurt one of the bunnies and then the mama bunny felt it. Like she jumped
Yeah.
the moment that, right? It's like, how do we know that that goes really far away? And what I said to Ira, well, it's love. And he said, well, that you can't like scientifically measure that. He's like, well, you can, but like we're not smart enough to actually have figured that out by now. It's like, but that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's love. It's like, that's how dolphins communicate under the ocean. They're like pinging each other, like sonar. We have this sonar and we know, oh my gosh, we're so connected. And with the pandemic, I remember all the animals coming out. Like we saw videos of deer on the Vegas Strip, right? And I remember thinking like, this sucks for humans, but holy shit, like this is amazing for the animals, right? And like they get to feel safe and they get to be free. So that was like the one thing that I was like, okay, maybe we need to like lockdown once a month for like a year. I don't know, to like give the animals a break. But honey, it's like this is why they burned us. This is why they hung us. When women come together, right? And it doesn't even just have to be women, but when compassionate, empathic, sensitive, powerful people come together to make change and to create healing, it works and it works quickly. And that scares a lot of people who don't understand it or don't profit from it, quite
Right,
frankly.
right. Or who aren't
Mhm.
ready for it themselves. And so they find some way to block it or project onto it that it means something that it doesn't. You know what I mean? And yeah, and I think that there is like, speaking to that, like I guess, collective wound again. Like there's a lot of fear that sometimes people have of being around other strong, outspoken, powerful people, right? Who are doing something different than the status quo, because guilt by association. And am I really ready to like align myself with such, because it basically calls out that in me, right? It calls out that sense of power and leadership in me if I say yes to being part of this, this group or this organization, or, say yes to this healer and be aligned with them. What will they say? What will my family think? What will other people think of me? They'll think, oh, wow, she's doing something with herself, like, right. And so I think we have those kind of, mostly, I'd say 99% of it's unconscious. We don't even know that we're holding ourselves back from our greatness, or from, in your verbiage, brilliance, because of the fear of being too much or being too great, or being, threatening to other people who aren't ready for it, who aren't ready for our greatness, or aren't ready for their own greatness. Could you say something about that? Like, tell us what the brilliance method is.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to touch on what you just said, we have this, we have all these hidden barriers. And it's one of the things Gay Hendricks talks about in The Big Leap. And there's four hidden barriers, and I want to claim to remember all of them right now. But one of them is fear of outshining others,
Yes, I remember. I
right?
read the book. It's amazing. It's a great
It's
book.
so
So quick
good.
and powerful.
It really is. And this whole thing of fear of outshining others, and also like not belonging,
Mhm.
right? Like, yes, like we will motivate and inspire other people to do the same, to step into their leadership, like you're saying. But some people, and I find this a lot in clients who just begin to work with me, they're so afraid that if they say who they really are, right? They come out of the spiritual closet or the broom closet or whatever's going on with them, that they're going to be abandoned. Like there's this abandonment wound of like, I'm not going to fit in with my so and so family, even if they are seemingly creative or, politically aligned or whatever, that there's still like this fear that they're going to be alone. And it always comes back down to anything we're afraid of, always comes down to we just want to be loved, right? There's only two emotions, love and fear. Everything else is underneath those. If you're jealous, if you're angry, you're afraid. Well, what am I? I'm jealous because I'm afraid I'm going to be alone, right? And it's like, oh, I'm so angry about this thing. Why are you so angry? Well, I feel betrayed. Well, why do you feel betrayed? Because they're supposed to be loyal to me. No, no, no. What happens if they're not? Well, I'm going to be alone, right? It always comes back to that. And everything under love, like the kindness and the compassion and the generosity, like it's all because we're just expressing our love. So when we filter down, like, who am I and what do I really want and what am I so afraid of? We just want to be loved. And the best thing that we can do is just to look and go, how can I be even more loving to myself in this moment?
Right.
Just this moment. Like, let yourself have this moment. And so many people say, well, I don't have time. I don't have time to meditate. I don't have time to get body work. I don't have time. It's like, I hear you, but one day when, unfortunately, if hopefully never, you get sick or stressed and or anxious or depressed, you will have lots of time.
Right. Well, and you just said it, because what happens if we don't take that time? Our bodies take it for us in illness. It just happens. Whatever it is, long COVID, it's, whatever the illness is, our bodies will take that time when we're not giving it to them, when there's enough that's built up in our systems, right? And that's just how it goes, because our bodies are, as you said, we want to live, and we are connected to love of life as our natural baseline human instinct, right?
Yep. Mhm.
Because we want to live, we want to survive. And that is connected very much to like our breathing pattern. It's connected to our digestive system. Our body is super smart. And in order to live and survive, we will shut down a bunch of our like important facilities, including like digesting our food, right? Just to be able to get through a difficult time, right? Yeah, like I know this is a priority. Even breathing, people will hold their breath. They will breathe very shallow. It's like that. Oh, I can't let like the tiger hear me breathe. I have to like shut everything down. Our bodies will do that and limit us massively to survive. But we can't stay there, because if we stay there, it's not sustainable, right? It's
No.
physically not sustainable. So we have to eventually break through the patterning back into a self-regulated state. So I agree very somatically with what you're saying about, how can we come back in? So maybe you can describe some of the things that you do with people that invite them to come back in and be in that presence with themselves, be in that love for themselves.
Did you know that your muscles are holding on to thoughts, memories, and feelings? If you have a tight neck or back, you're not just getting old, you're experiencing a buildup of tension from the life you've lived. Most people don't know this, but there is a part of your brain that can reverse and prevent chronic tension. When you relax your muscles, you not only move better and regulate your nervous system, but you also free yourself from the grip the past has over your body. So you can live with freedom, confidence, and enjoy your life now. How does that sound? Join me, Aimee Takaya, and discover what my clients are raving about at youcanfreeyoursoma.com.
I would love to. Well, you'd asked about the Brilliance Method, so that's a big part of it. And when I created the Brilliance Method, it's not just the name of my podcast, which I hope everyone will come and check out. It's an online course that I put together. And back in my video production days, one of the things I did was create and produce online courses for these like major universities like Vanderbilt and Belmont, USC, and all these places. And knowing course creation, it's like I can do this better than a lot of other people, so I should, right? I should. And then I sat with that and I go, am I obligated to? No, I'm not. But then I felt Spirit go, you have a message to share and you actually know how to do this. There's so many wonderful, talented people out there who don't know how to put a course together. So we've given you this opportunity because when I was in production the whole time, I was like, this is like my zone of excellence. It's not my zone of genius, but there's something here for me. So I looked at what is it that I have to teach? And when you're trying to figure out what it is you want to teach or do, again, aligned with, and this is going to come back to your question about essentially self-compassion, is what is it that people want to learn from you? What are they asking you about? What is it that you are so drawn and called into and lit up to teach and speak about? Like how you're so passionate about your somatic work and body work and who you are. And I noticed people were asking me, how did you do it? How did you? Because when I was in my 20s, like Hot Mess Express, I was living in LA and,
Yeah.
pursuing acting and got some jobs here and there, wound up producing. I wound up getting stage 3 cancer when I was 24 years
Oh my
old.
God.
Again, like exactly what you just described, right? Of like the body just hit its limit, manifested all this stuff right around my heart chakra, unhealed
Mhm.
trauma and guilt and fear from all sorts of stuff growing up and probably past lives and all sorts of other things, right? Just things that needed to come out, found their way out. And here I am, actually this week, I'm 20 years cancer free, celebrating
Oh,
my
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And so looking at it, how have I kept it at bay, right? When I believed I was healed, when they took it out of me and I went through some Eastern and Western treatments, I was like, I'm healed. Like I have a different relationship with the word remission. I'm like, it's gone. Like there's nothing there now. So I stick with that belief and I'm so grateful every day that I'm healthy and that's the best I can do. And when I looked at, okay, and now I have been married almost 15 years to just the love of my life after going through a series of hellish relationships, as we all do. It's like there's a Dalai Lama who says the fastest path to enlightenment is through marriage. And he means like
Oh.
relationship, right? There's like so many forgiveness
Oh, it's such
opportunities.
a mountain to climb for some of us. Yeah, the stuff that comes up. Yes, yeah.
For sure, right? So looking at, and then I started multiple different businesses in LA, my production business, like soared. And then I started a wedding officiant business, nights and weekends, marrying people. And then I had 6 officiants under me. The team grew so big. I was like, oh, I'll open up an Airbnb. And then I had like 4 of them. And I'm like, how? Like, and so people were like, everything you touch turns to gold. What, how? It's like, how? I don't know. How did I do it? Right? How did I do it? So took a step back and I was like, what did I learn from course creation? I looked at the main results, you could say, I have in my life, like my big wins, the things I'm the most proud of, the things that people acknowledge. And I literally, Aimee, like took a post-it and I wrote each one, right? Like, okay, what did I do? Okay, I beat cancer. I did this, I did this. How did I do it? Number one, I listened to my intuition. And I had to learn how to listen to my intuition. I had to learn how to trust her. I had to learn how to get out of her way. I had to go, you know what? Every bad choice I made wasn't because I'm wrong or I don't have a good gut instinct. It's because I didn't listen. When I
Mhm.
felt that intuitive ping, I'm like, well, how do you listen? It's a mindfulness practice. Intuition is just being present to your own thoughts, feelings, your higher self, your guides, your angels, anything that's coming through for you, listening to your own body. So in that process, that was the first thing. So that became module one, right? And then number two, what's the next thing that I did? Well, I got really deep back into my Buddhist practice, my Course in Miracles practice, just different spiritual practices, right? So if, anyone who follows your show has some relationship with spirit, I'm sure, right? So that's the thing, like have a relationship with spirit, God, source energy, the universe. Like if you think that you are just a mineral and a body and like your time on this earth is limited and that's the end of you, then you get to have that experience. But I do believe it's so much richer when you just like it's hard to describe when you've
Embrace the mystery and then
yes.
flow with it, right?
Thank
Like
you. That part. So the second module is around love and fear, the ego and the spirit, that whole thing. And then number three, tapping into your own unique brilliance, your zone of genius. And even I love Gay Hendricks and his work. And in the Big Leap, I was like, but how? And there was a piece that I couldn't identify for myself. So I developed this process called mad scientist mode, and I taught it to Gay when he was on my podcast. He was like, I love that. Katie and I do that all the time. Like, there we go. Right. So understanding when and Abraham Hicks calls it the vortex, right? When you're just in
mm-hmm.
the flow, in the zone, what are you doing? And just own that. And I believe the universe will conspire in your favor when you do what you feel motivated and inspired to do. And that could bring so much abundance of wealth and health and magic. So it goes on from there. But actually, the two middle modules are all around the body. And I do talk about how the gut has brain cells. And that's why when the dinosaur or the tiger's coming, we either like poop or hold it, right? And
Right,
like
right.
we chronically do that stuff. So, and then it goes into action taking. And I hope I answered your question, but essentially, it all comes back to remembering that you are the lighthouse, not the lifesaver. And when we are strong and standing tall and sturdy on that shore, and we know who we are and we know what we want, and it doesn't mean we don't have imperfections.
Yeah,
It
or
just
experience doubt, right?
right, we have that. Like, hey, is the sun going to come up tomorrow? Like, we don't know. Is this beacon going to stay on, right? Do we need a repairman? We might
Yeah.
sometimes, right? So, but shining that beacon bright out in there for other people to see it and be drawn to you. That's all you need to do is just shine it. You don't have to be a lifesaver and jump into that cold, dark ocean where there's sharks and people are screaming and then they're pulling you down with them. I did so much life saving.
Yeah.
And that comes from trauma as a kid, thinking, oh, now I need to be the adult, right? And when we learn that unless you're an ambulance driver or surgeon, like a firefighter, you're not here to fix or save anybody. You are here to be of service and to shine your light and to be a facilitator for healing and health and service and good.
Right, right. The medicine comes through you and your embodied presence. It comes through your leadership that you're holding in yourself as you speak and listen and interact with the other person. It's not through, it's because it's always do as I do or do as I be, maybe we could say, right? Do as
Hmm.
I be, because that's how we really learn as we learn
Yeah.
by that presence of the other person.
Yeah, absolutely. So it just goes back to when you really learn to trust yourself and allow yourself to be wrong and to learn from that and be okay with it and release any shame around being wrong. Remember, we're all human. I have a really interesting story about being wrong. I'd be happy to share. I don't think I've
Oh
ever shared
yeah.
it before.
I've been wrong so many times. I would love to hear about some of your wrong moments.
This is like such a wrong, ego-driven moment. Yeah, I've never talked about this on a podcast. So I was working for this amazing guy, and he was an actor and a movie producer, and he put together this film. And I was in my late 20s, and he asked me to help him organize the film premiere. It's like, sure, no problem. So he gave me one instruction on the day of the show, which was put these signs on these chairs. These are for the actors, the directors. Don't let anybody sit there. And until the theater opens, don't let anybody in. We don't want anybody in there. We're going to set it up. We want it to be this grand thing, right? So I'm in there and I'm taping the things to the chairs, and this guy walks in. And I was like, oh, hey, sorry, nobody can come in until 6 o'clock. And he was like, okay. And then he walked out, and I didn't think anything of it. I just did my job. He didn't argue with me, whatever. So a few days later, the premiere went great. A few days later, I was talking to this gentleman's name was Gildert. I was talking to Gildert, and I said, I don't ever piss anybody off because I was a ridiculous people pleaser, like massive fawner. And I was really proud of the fact that I never upset anybody. I'm a good girl. I never upset anybody. And he goes, that's bullshit. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, that's impossible. Everybody upsets somebody at some point. And I go, I'm sure that I maybe have in the past, but I've done really well these last like 5, 10 years. Like I don't upset anybody. Like I make sure that everyone's okay. And I speak my truth and this and that, but I make sure I don't. And he goes, well, you pissed off my photographer. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, he came in to get shots of the theater from all the angles and you didn't let him in. And he complained to me about you multiple times of how upset he was. And by the time the show opened, he didn't know the layout of the theater. So he had to like wing it, as we were doing the Q&A. And I was like, but you told me not to let anybody in. He goes, right, you did a great job, but you pissed him off. And I was like, oh no. He goes, it's okay. You did the right thing. And yeah, you could have asked him, like we could have course corrected what happened in the moment. That wasn't the point of the lesson. The point of the lesson was you will piss people off whether you know it or not, and it's okay. It's really okay. It's not up to us to control how other people are going to respond when we know that we are doing the right thing and we're being a kind person. Now, are there ways that we can still continue to grow and learn? Absolutely. We can always learn better ways and be even kinder, but that's not the point. We're just going to piss people off and we're safe to do that because we're all humans and we're emotional messes and this is it's going to be what's going to be.
I feel you. I love that story because I can almost hear your like vulnerability and fear in like, oh no,
Yep.
somebody got mad at me. And it shines a light on again, like that, that inner child that's like afraid to do anything wrong and get in trouble or make mistakes. But
Totally.
I feel like more and more people are talking about this, in the last like 15, 20 years in entrepreneurship, that failure, quote unquote, or doing the wrong thing or upsetting someone is just a natural part of your learning process. It's just
Yeah.
it's just a part of it. There's no way out of it. And if you are, like you described, like dancing around, like contorting yourself to please other people, you are not only going to exhaust yourself, you're going to be unconsciously limiting your potential in each moment because you're not actually in alignment with your truth, right? Or even the moment's truth. You're too busy protecting yourself so nobody gets mad,
Correct.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I did some work to try and figure out where it came from.
Mm.
And I'm happy to share it if we had time or you want to know, but once I figured out where it came from, that didn't solve the problem,
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Where
right?
you want to tell us where it came from?
Sure. It's kind of a sad story, but I'm happy to share it if it helps people. And I've talked about it on my podcast. When I was 12 years old, my mother was hit by a car and killed.
Oh my God, I'm so
Uh,
sorry.
Oh, it's awful. Thank you. And she was, I really received that. Thank you. She was my best friend. Like the kind of mom that if you didn't want to go to school, I mean, of course, I went to school, but once in a while she'd be like, you know what? Screw it. Let's go to the mall, right? Let's hang out and watch Star Trek or let's
Mental
do my
health day.
yes, mental health day. Like best friend every summer, road trip from Florida up to North Carolina and this and that and just the most amazing human being. And I always said I love you. We always said I love you. We're that lovey-dovey hug family. And the day that she died, we got in this big fight. And she really upset me. She told me we were moving and we were moving to a different state. And I'm 12 years old, like probably just got my period at that age range and hormones are kicking in and my friends feel like the most important thing in the world to me. And many of them I'm still friends with, but I didn't want to move and I was mad at her. And she left that night. She was the president of the Florida State Massage Therapy Association. And she left that night to go speak at an event. And as she was leaving, I didn't give her a hug and I didn't say I love you. And she never came home.
God.
And so I carried that with me for a long time. And over time and through different spiritual practices, I feel now I'm just as close with her. We just have a different relationship, but we do communicate now more than ever. But for so many years, Aimee, I was grieving her so much because I didn't feel her because I didn't know. I didn't know how, and I tried all sorts of things, but I felt like I was responsible, right? If I just
Yeah.
gave her a hug, would that car have missed her? And every time travel movie will say no. that something else will have, no matter what, like fate is fate. The script is
Right.
written, and Course in Miracles kind of teaches the same thing, actually. Like we're just here to have the experience. And even in accepting that, what I noticed was anytime I ever upset anybody, it feels like I killed him. Like it
Wow.
was a death, right? And I
Oh my
remember,
God. Yeah. That's heavy. That's a really heavy thing. No wonder you were so dang good at pleasing everybody. Oh my God.
correct, I was trying to save everybody. I remember
Yeah.
I was in an acting class and it was after I went through chemo, so my memory wasn't as sharp and I missed a line. And as soon as the scene ended, I turned to my scene partner and I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I skipped that part." And my teacher heard me from the stage and she goes, "Why did you just apologize to your scene partner?" And I said, "Because I missed a few lines." And she goes, "Don't you trust her to pick it up beautifully?" And she did. I go, "Yeah, she did a great job. She didn't not do it. I wasn't saying she didn't do a great job." She goes, "What's really going on?" Right? What? And I was like, and I sat with it. And then I was quiet. And my teacher, her name is Elizabeth Gamza. She's like so psychic, cool lady, still teaching acting and a great actress. She leans in and she goes, "You're afraid that if you hurt people, they'll leave you."
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And then like my whole life flashed before my eyes and I connected it about my mom and this boyfriend I had. I didn't call this one night and then he committed suicide the next day and
Holy
just like
crap. Yeah.
so many stories, right? Of like stuff
Hmm.
like that where I'm like, I can't disappoint people or they're
Hmm.
gonna die. Holy, like I need to work on that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's amazing hearing your story is already like, I'm thinking about the last thing you said about the boyfriend. And then
Uh-huh.
I actually had a very almost identical situation, except it wasn't a boyfriend, it was a close friend that I had like just hooked up with for the first time. And
Oh,
then like 5 days later, he was gone, suicide. It was horrible. I have shared about that on like the first ever podcast that I did on somebody else's podcast, but just to my
yeah.
listeners, they haven't heard that about me right before, but
Wow.
I did go through something very similar. And now that you're saying that, I'm like, I mean, I knew that, on my end, it got really weirdly muddled, like how the fawning ended up getting like contorted also with like just anger, like
Mhm.
anger at men, anger at this guy in particular. Like, how could you do that to me? Like, I took it really
Yeah,
personally, you know what I mean?
sure. Of
And
course.
and so I think like you're sharing this, even though it's heavy duty, like there's probably people who are listening. Maybe they went through something similar to what we went through, or maybe they went through something not as heavy duty, but they relate
Yep.
to this concept. It's
Mhm.
important for us to talk about these things because every single person has gone through something in their life, every single person. And we walk around pretending like, oh yeah, it's all good. I'm fine. These patterns that I'm living with, it's like wearing a coat or wearing a sweater, but it's actually a survival pattern. It's actually something that, you're used to doing so that you can get through life because of whatever has happened to you, whatever has you've gone on, with you. So I really appreciate you sharing that story and sharing, this is again, this idea of being together where these kind of things can come up in conversation, right?
Yes, yes. And thank you for what you just shared about that experience with him. And my hit, is it okay to share my hit with
Sure.
that? Because I do a
Yeah.
lot of mediumship and energy comes through. But all I want to say about it, and we could talk more offline, is the two of you had a soul agreement
Mm.
and he helped to put you on your path.
Yeah.
It's a big part of what put you on your path, even though it was
Mm.
so painful. So,
Yeah, I feel that. That is, thank you for that acknowledgement. Is very
you're
true.
welcome.
Very true. And the heaviest thing about that experience was that, during that time when we like turned from friends to lovers or whatever, right? Like we talked about death. We had this long existential conversation about it, and I like asked him like, well, if you believe in anything, like what do you believe in? He's like, well, I believe that like we come back. I believe that we get a second chance because like this can't be it,
Yeah.
and that just stayed with me so long, because I had my own like programming, like interesting programming. Maybe I'll ask you about this one too. I had this interesting programming my mom gave me that I don't know if she like where she got it from. I think it was like Rosicrucians, or maybe it was Groundhog's Day, but she gave me a different kind of like programming about like suicide specifically. But
Mm.
he kind of scoffed at that or something like in his actions. He like did the total opposite of what she had told me about it. When I was a kid, she told me that if you committed suicide, you would have to relive your exact same life over again, the exact same way until you chose not to do that.
Do you want my opinion on that?
Sure. I thought it was like a weird superstitious thing that, like, I don't know. I was too young when she told me this. I was probably like 7 or something.
Oh,
I know it was heavy duty.
yeah, she just wanted to make sure you were safe, right? That's
Yes,
what was really
yes.
going on. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Mom, for keeping me safe. We just want to love and be loved. Okay, so first of all, there's an amazing book by a man named Dr. Michael Newton who wrote Journey of Souls.
Mm,
And he also wrote Destiny of Souls. And what he did was he was a hypnotherapist for life after life, right? So reincarnation, essentially, your past lives. And one of his patients sort of towards the end of the session started talking like he takes them to the death and then they kind of end the session and they started saying what happened after the death. He's like, wait, what's going on? He's like, oh, here's what I'm seeing and here's who's greeting me and now I'm doing my life review and all this stuff. And he's like, whoa, what's this? So then he did just thousands of these case studies and for the most part everybody said the same thing about here's what happens after you die and he wasn't priming them with anything premeditated to get them to tell the same story. It was just like, wow, right? And Sarah Breskme Cosme has the same experience doing QHHT regressions and originally from Dolores Cannon. If anyone's interested, just look them
yeah,
up
I'm
on
familiar with Dolores
Instagram.
Cannon.
Oh,
Yeah.
like amazing, right? When you hear
Yeah.
the stories of people doing this stuff. So in, I believe it's Journey of Souls, but it might be Destiny of Souls. He talks about when somebody unlifes themselves, they go through a healing process. And according to him, it's a disruption in the life plan, that it actually usually isn't a planned thing in their life plan. Now, other philosophies will teach something different. And I'm open to both ideas. I generally believe the script is written and we're just here to have the experience. And we do have those soul contracts where people do that. But if that's not in their life plan, then they go through almost this. He describes it, or these different case study patients describe it as being almost in this beautiful, like sound bath or cocoon of just healing. And they might stay there for a long time, like a longer period of time than coming right back, right? Or coming back after a certain amount of time. So, do they come right back to their same life? No, I don't believe that. But I mean, we could, right? We absolutely could. But that doesn't mean we're going to make a different decision. I do believe that we in this incarnation have multiple versions of ourselves in various timelines, in the quantum field. So of course there's an Aimee who didn't lose him. There's an Aimee who never met him, right? There's an Elysia who still has her mom and maybe didn't move to LA. Like there's all sorts of different life paths we could take, and those are happening simultaneously, perhaps infinite amounts of them, so that our soul can have all the experiences we need to have, right? That
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
supposed to have, that we want to have. So would we come back the exact same in the exact same life? No, that I feel like that would actually be purposeless. What feels more purposeful is to balance out that karma in a way where you maybe do experience, what's the lesson, right? It depends on
Right.
the lesson. If the lesson is, well, I hurt a lot of people when I left, perhaps you come back as someone like you or I who is then, I know that I've killed myself in many lifetimes. I've seen it. And so I've never had a desire to do that in this lifetime, thank goodness, but I have so much compassion. I've experienced it on the other side of it in this lifetime multiple times, right? So maybe something like that where we've experienced it from the other perspective. Or if, and also, and to your mom's credit, I think where I would sort of agree with her, not that it's a carbon copy of the life, but if your life was hard before and you couldn't hang, well, next time it's probably going to be harder because you've been through your life review. Your guides and your angels are giving you some, hey, now you got to go get some bonus points, all right? Go do some extra credit. And now you're going to go through a life that might even be a little harder
Mm-hmm.
because you really got to learn it, right? It's like imagine, kind of analogy do I want to use? It's feeling very physical. Like if you were, doing some sort of like marathon or something really difficult physically, and like you just want to quit and you're at the last lap. The last lap isn't necessarily easier, right?
Right.
In fact, it might be harder. Your muscles hurt, you're tired, you're thirsty, you're more exhausted. But like now you have the experience of doing that hard thing over and over. So you're actually, the track better. Like you're well equipped now to actually get through it, even if it's harder. So you'll do a better job on that last lap if you don't quit. So that's my belief on what happens, but it really is layered in with it's also possible, Aimee, that it's just predetermined anyway, and our soul is just witnessing and having the experience.
Right, right. And I think like that fits in with the multiple timelines idea anyway, in my view, because
Hmm.
like then we have all these different experiences that the present us in any moment in any of these timelines can drop into, right? And receive that wisdom from the other timeline, you know?
That's
And
right.
yeah.
And
So
that
go ahead.
there you go. There you go. Well, when we are manifesting what we want and visualizing what we want, if the script is written and there's all these different timelines where it's already predetermined, but we want a better experience for ourselves, or maybe we want a different experience for ourselves, even if it's not better, we can shift timelines,
Mm, mm.
right? We can trade these. We can go, hey, I'm gonna shift over. And it might feel like the tiniest little like bloop,
The little
right?
micro step, yeah.
Sometimes it just feels like a little, it's almost like a vertigo all of a sudden you're in the room and it's like, right? And then you're like, whoa, what just happened? It might have just been like a micro little cosmic shift. And now you've stepped into your millionaire timeline,
It's a
right?
perception thing, like to just get into, you know, a lot of people talk about all this mindset work and how to like change and shift your mindset, but it's like, well, what if when we're changing and shifting our mindsets, that's part of that little micro degree that is again shifting our trajectory on the multiverse timeline, right? Like those things work, and it's every little moment, you know, that we're dropping in or out of that alignment with where we're meant to go. Like I share a very similar kind of, it sounds like it, at least I share a very similar belief to like there's a destiny, right? And then
Hmm.
there's like all these different pathways to get there, and none of them are wrong, right?
Right.
And if you get go on what you think is a detour for a while, you end up realizing that along the detour it was like, oh, I was meant to experience these things because it's leading me to the next thing, which leads me closer to where I'm really meant to be, right? And
Yeah.
so that's that exploration, right? And what I love is that we never do this alone. We're always doing this in collaboration, not only with spirit and source, but with each other, you know, as beings. Like just take a moment, like for yourself, for the listeners, how many people contributed? I mean, you brought up several people, even in this conversation, you know, your mother, your acting teacher, the guy who hired you to the, you know, for the premiere, maybe even the
Yep.
photographer, we can count him,
Yep.
contributed to your learning and to your process, into you becoming this person that's sitting right here, right now in front of me. And how many more people are going to contribute to you and vice versa, right?
Yeah, I love that. I just see like the matrix layers just over all of us. It's so fun. It really is. And so much of it too is when we want to do those timeline shifts, when we want something better for ourselves, it goes beyond, well, I desire this. I desire this life. I desire this healing. I desire this wealth. More so than that, I don't know that that gets us as far. What gets us all the way there or on the path there is already knowing and believing that you are that person. And that's the shift. If you want to shift timelines, you have to shift into the timeline where you are already embodying that millionaire frequency or that healed frequency. And I like the word frequency because it's tangible in a way, right? We can imagine that if it's a different frequency, we're just not hearing it here
Mm-hmm.
yet. Right? And there's not one that's like better or greater necessarily. People are talking about like 3D, 4D, 5D. It's like, okay, like cool. Like I don't want anyone to feel bad if they're still in 3D, right? It's like, okay, like let's just like shift into a different frequency to remember who you are. And when you know, right? Like I started asking myself questions recently on my walks. I think this is really going to help everybody. If everyone's like, okay, we hear you, Elysia and Aimee, but like, how? How do I do this? How do I do
Yeah.
this? I walk my dogs about a mile every morning. And there's so many things in my life that I'm still trying to figure out, right? Like I'm so blessed in my success, but I still have some debt. I've invested a lot in my business, and that's a real thing, right? Even like billionaires have debt. And they always say, like, well, you're just leveraging it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm done. Like, I think I'm done leveraging debt. I just want to be done with it, right? I think then the more we're on a spiritual path, like we just want to simplify things in our life too and have like less responsibilities, and that's part of it. And so I asked myself on my walk, instead of like, God, how did I get into debt? Or how did I, did I, when I started making money, why didn't I pay it off sooner? Like, like I would ask myself those questions to understand my human self.
Mm-hmm.
But that's only gotten me so far. So what I started doing recently, like just this week, is I started asking my future self how she got out of debt and how she stepped into her multi-million dollar timeline and how she healed her lymphedema in her arm from having cancer, right? So it's interesting because the brain, it has the reticular activating system. So it's always seeking evidence to support what it is that we're thinking about. We have a thought and if we're having a fear thought or a worry thought or an anxious thought that's sitting in the back of our head, like literally in the back of our head, what is that? The amygdala, there's something there. And then it moves into that prefrontal cortex of reasoning and
Yeah.
trust, right? And it's even the same thing if you're on like a sales call with a client and you say the price of what your offer is or your sessions cost and you get a little nervous, and it's like just be quiet. Let them work it up to the front of their mind where they can make reason of it.
Right.
Don't interrupt them and offer them a discount yet. Like give it space, right? So because we have this in our brain wants to make us happy. It wants us to know that we're safe. It's doing this beautiful job making sure that like if we have a thought that the thought is true, that we're validated, right? That
Yep.
we feel smart. And so if we have worry thoughts all the time and then bad things happen, the brain doesn't have an opinion about that. It's like, oh, you worry. So like, here's like, let's show you more evidence that your worries can be true, right? So then what do we want to do? We want to seek out evidence that we have abundance and that the world is magical and that we can change and change is possible. So I asked myself on my walk, Elysia, like future self, right? Imagining your beautiful, gorgeous future self who's so abundant and like so fit and so happy in whatever version she is. It doesn't have to be like 5 years from now. It could be like next month, right? Just like asking your future self, like, how did how did you get so rich? How did you get so strong, like so physically strong, right? And so I heard the answers. Your brain loves answering questions. That's what it wants to do all the time. So ask your future self, how did I do it? And then just listen for the answer. Can we play with that? Aimee,
Oh, yeah.
can you ask yourself a future question right now? And can we just, and everyone listening too, just
Sure.
ask yourself a future question and then just listen for the answer. And I'd love to hear what it is.
Mm. Yeah. So I just did this water therapy training, Watsu. I just did it. And so I've been very nervous about practicing it because it's a new body work for me. So I just asked myself the question like, how did you become so great at this modality?
And what'd she say?
She said, you let yourself receive, not and what I got from that statement was like you let yourself receive it from others, like to pay other instructors to float you or to do it with you, right? And then also that I like receive the learning, like that I let my body like receive it, like that I take the time out of my schedule for it and that I receive it. So that was like the message I got, was that's how I become really skilled at this, is by like really taking that time to receive it fully myself.
Yes. And I want to anchor it in even deeper for you that that is how you received it,
It is
right?
how I received it. Yeah.
That's right. So you let other people practice on you. You allowed yourself to receive all of it. Like you did all that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah, and that's how I became like a total rock star at it. No, I mean, I think I have insecurity just because I do retreats with like the water therapy, and usually it's someone who's been doing it like really, really high level, for like 8 years or something, who's
Mm-hmm.
collaborating with me, and I'm really good at what I do and they're really good at what they do, and now I'm like a new person at this thing, right? So I've been, yeah, it's been an interesting thing to feel that like insecurity and something new, and now getting that answer like, oh, you got to let you received it, like that's how you did it. You became really magically skilled at this because you let yourself have it. You
Yes.
have to
Oh
go,
my gosh.
seeking it. You put it on your schedule, you blocked out the time and you received it.
Okay, can I pull a card for you?
Oh my God, please do.
Okay, because I have an intuitive hit, and if it's okay, can I share another hit with you?
Yeah.
Okay, sweets. You have been training for this for lifetimes, and as you were talking about it, I saw ancestors who are natives. Like
Mm.
you probably already have a guardian or a guide who is like native or shamanic, right? That
Well,
you
it is totally crazy that you said this just now because I mean, I'll turn my camera so if anybody's watching the video. So I do body work, right? That's my table over there.
Uh-huh.
And this morning, one of my clients came and she's an energy worker. And I do this singing bowl after the body work. And I'm just like praying at the end and like sending good energy and like clearing space. And like, I just do that at the end of the session, right? And then a little bit of lavender, right? And she said that during the bowl, she saw me as a native woman around a fire with a drum. And this was crazy because, like, literally a year or so ago, another energy worker who I did a series of sessions with was on the table and told me something very similar. So it was like the second person who said that, who is an energy intuitive. And then now you saying that, I'm like, okay, this is coming in loud and clear.
All the chills. All the chills.
Yeah.
Okay, that's beautiful. So connect with this guardian who you worked with in a past life, who you apprenticed under, who you became that circle leader. Everyone looked to you. You were the grandmother. So this beautiful innocence, this childlike innocence you have around learning this and being this and feeling like the beginner, like what precious energy because you were the wise sage for so long. Your soul wanted to experience being a beginner again, and it's gonna literally, no pun intended, flood back to you so fast. That's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And yeah, it's the whole thing just feels so potent right now for me.
Ah, it is.
Yeah.
It's so there. It's so like delicious. It's interesting. The word righteous is coming through. I don't know what that means for you,
Mm,
but that's coming through for me. So, whenever I pull cards for people, whether it's my show or your show, I want the listeners to know that this card is also for them. So, because we're in this collective energy right now, so I want you to set an intention, Aimee, and everyone who is listening, you're this one unique, beautiful individual soul listening or watching right now. Go ahead and set your intention. And wherever and whenever in time you are finding this episode, that this is the perfect time, this is divine time for you to receive this message today. And Aimee, when you're ready, you're just gonna say now.
now.
Okay. Whew. All right. Okay. You pulled one and I pulled one. Here's how it's gonna go. Number one. I love how spiritual this conversation is. We were going to talk about like all sorts of other stuff today too. Like this is where we're going. I'm sorry. This is a card of forgiveness, sweetie. And that was one of the messages that came through from your friend who passed away, who took his own life when he was talking to me when you were telling me the story. So this says defenselessness, righting past wrongs, and uprooting. Okay.
Yeah.
So A Course in Miracles teaches in my defenselessness, my safety lies. That we don't have to defend or explain ourselves to anybody. And as my friend and mentor Andrea Quinn says, if if your people don't get you, like they're not your people, right? You don't have to explain yourself to your own people. So that kind of also goes back to what we were saying about, fear of outshining others and this abandonment wound and all of that stuff. So some of this is also unapologetically living who you are, which is in turn an apology to our past selves when we've abandoned our past selves to
Right,
fit
right.
into a money-making container. Because it's confusing being in a Western body in the Western world going, well, we have to like pay utilities and taxes. So like I can't just barter
Right.
my healing for tomatoes. You know what I mean? Like I can't even
Uh-huh.
grow tomatoes in my on my apartment patio. So just this is about your truth, sweetheart, and embracing anyone else in your life that you want to forgive and to start let it go. Anyone who's done you wrong, anyone who owes you money, anyone who led you to believe that you are less than for any reason. And I know whoever's listening to this right now can really use this. And forgiveness is almost always a path for self that
Yeah.
we have to forgive ourselves for being so hard on ourselves about it, for making it so real, for giving it so much power, for giving our power away to the situation. And so if there's anything you do want to apologize to anyone or yourself about, then you get to, and we get to just let that weight go. And so many people find they get to the end of their life and they've carried this burden for so long because there was something holding them back from just saying, you know what? That was weird. I'm sorry. And it's a vulnerable thing, and we get scared to be vulnerable. But truthfully, vulnerability is what creates connection, and people feel safe with us the more vulnerable we are because we're not an untouchable superhero. We're actually human who feels things and messes up and feels bad about things and wants to be
Yeah.
loved.
Well, and
So,
so much I think we have apologies or saying we're sorry or even like receiving someone else's apology so wrapped up and intertwined with shame, but they're not the
mm,
same thing. It's really not. We can allow ourselves, as you say, to kind of like be shamelessly in our sorry. Like, sorry doesn't mean that I'm bad and wrong and what I did was, unforgivable. It's actually kind of the opposite. It's asking for divine mercy from ourselves and from others, which is altruistic, which is a different kind of justice. Justice, the right and wrong, good and bad is one thing, but then there's also the oneness, there's the appreciation, right? And so as I'm
mm,
receiving this card, like I feel like there's so much that's kind of coming in about this because yeah, like the water itself in this modality that I'm working with is so innately forgiving. Like your body
mm,
feels it. Like think about it for a minute. Just like being in a tub of warm water.
mhm.
Your body becomes weightless, your joints soften, things open up, chi and energy starts to flow. There's like something that's just innately magnanimous about the water, the water in our bodies, the water outside of our bodies, but it's also unapologetic. Like you said, it can break through stone. It can completely, you can't argue with the ocean, right? You know what I'm
No,
saying?
you're not
Like
going to win.
yeah, so it's that beautiful balance. So I'm really hearing the card I'm sorry as like a message almost from water to like
Mm,
be more in that element of flow and generosity, and also like there's nothing that's going to stop the water from moving or transforming, right?
no, it's
Yeah.
beautiful. I love the idea that water is so forgiving. I've never thought about that. And like I pay way too much money for a pool heater because I
God, I love you. I love you. I'm going to come and float you in your pool because you have to do it in a warm pool.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So when you're talking about like just laying in a warm bath, I'm like, my bath is like 33 feet long and it is my favorite thing in
Fantastic.
the world. Yeah. I was like, I'm gonna put a pool in. That was my a gift when my grandmother passed away. She left us a little bit of money and I was like, I want to put a pool in. And I was starting to do well in my business. I'm like, that's not how I'm gonna celebrate myself. And I refuse to get into cold water. Like I just don't want to. And especially I lived in LA for 21 years and the ocean
Yeah.
was always cold. Growing up in Fort Lauderdale, the ocean was always warm. I'm like, I'm in my 40s now. Like I just want to be comfortable. So I'm going to be uncomfortable in all my self-work, right? So like let me just get into this warm water. And I think about it, like we're transitioning to a salt system.
Mm.
And even that will have some chemicals in it. But now, like, we're still putting some chemicals in the pool to keep the bacteria at bay as much as we can. And, you don't want to go into a green pool. You can't see what's on the bottom of it. And I'm just feeling this forgiveness from the water of like, yeah, whenever I put a chlorine tablet in or something like that, it's like, it's okay. Like, we still get to experience you and float you, and you're enjoying us
Right.
so
The water
much.
is going to survive even with the chemical. It can be transformed. It can be moved, it can evaporate the chemicals out. Like the water is untouched, even though you put some chemicals in it.
Yeah, it's incredible. Okay, so then the second card that I pulled. So you pulled this first one, sweetie, when you said now. That's the one that you pulled for yourself. Then I pulled for you and for everyone listening, Child of the Cosmos.
Mm.
The intelligence of the universe lies within you. All right. So this is the Starseed Oracle. Yes, this is the Starseed Oracle. Rebecca Campbell's decks. I love her decks. I'm
Can we
making my
see the
own.
box?
Oh yeah. I'm making my own Oracle deck right now, so it probably won't be out by the time this airs, but keep an eye on elysiasky.com to see when my deck is out. It's pretty great.
Oh,
So this is the
nice.
Starseed Oracle.
Mm.
I love everything about it. I have a few of her decks. And so do you feel like your audience knows what a starseed is, or should I explain it?
Please, yeah, go ahead.
So a starseed, and I may not explain it as perfectly as others who specialize in this, but Someone who has come from another planet or another galaxy. They feel this longing for home. They feel like maybe they don't belong here or something's missing or things are just different. And they probably have gifts, intuitive gifts, healing gifts, energetic gifts that came from wherever they traveled from the galaxy. And they often have not just this longing for home, but they still have a relationship with their own, you can call it like galactic council or whoever, wherever it is they came from. And when there's a lot of cards in that deck that are not specifically connected to that strict message, but that card is. So for you and everyone listening right now, if you have felt different in your life. It doesn't have to mean black sheep, but it could kind of feel a little bit like that. You're a star seed. Like you're here doing beautiful work. And I believe in what I've studied and what I've learned. I've recommended so many books today. I don't always do that. There's a book called The Disappearance of the Universe by Gary Renard. And he's in this book, he's visited a nonfiction book, but he's visited by these two ascended masters. And they talk about how Earth, like humans, are so good at love. Like we got love on lockdown. And the only reason we have any conflict on this planet is because people are acting inauthentic to love out of alignment with just being loving. They're just more selfish, self-focused. They're not loving. And that's why we have war and all these things. But we're so good at love. So beings who have incarnated mostly on other planets and other star systems come here almost as like final incarnations many times to learn love because it's the greatest lesson in the universe, in every universe. And other planets, perhaps, and even like the Pleiadians, if you've read Bringers of the Dawn or anything like that, they're really good at peace. Like that's their jam. Like they are a planet of peace, right? But like they don't get love the way that we do.
It's
So
so
they
interesting you say that because, like, people often, kind of think of peace and love as being like similar or synonymous, but I think they're not because love can be very fierce. Love
Mhm.
is not like quiet and peaceful sometimes. Love is strong. It's very like
Well, especially when humans have their way with it, right? Right.
yeah,
And then there's
yeah.
like other planets or beings that are really good at technology, that like have us so beat on the technology front, but they come here to learn love. So there's something in that card for you, just remembering where you came from and that you're here to learn love. So for you, Aimee, and everyone listening or watching, how can you be even more loving with yourself today and fulfill your soul's purpose of being here with us?
Yeah. Thank you. That's beautiful. Yeah, wow, what an incredible conversation. It's really traveled all over, but I feel like we've continued to come back to this idea of togetherness, right? Whether that's
Yep.
togetherness with others or togetherness with ourselves and the different parts of ourselves or our soul and our essence. And so much of it is like a remembering, like you just said, like it's kind of uncovering what's there, what's always been there, right?
Mhm.
And uncovering whether it's like your brilliance or using Gay Hendricks, your zone of genius, your zone of excellence, right? Like
Mhm.
uncovering those things so that your life can be the expansive gift for yourself and the world that like it's meant to be. I know that people listening to this podcast, they are seekers, they are truth lovers, and they want to expand and grow through their physical experience in life. So thank you so much for sharing from your physical experience in life, you know from your grief, from your sorrow, from your desire to make the world more comfortable for others, that you went through all of that, right? I just so
Yeah.
appreciate this conversation. I appreciate you and what you've shared today.
Thank you, love. It's been such a joy. Like these are my favorite conversations to have, truly.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, tell us more. Like, you mentioned the Brilliance Method. Is it a self-paced course? Can people find it on your website? What other kinds of offers or things do you have coming up that you'd like to tell people about?
Thank you for asking. Yeah, so definitely check out the podcast. It's the Brilliance Method podcast, available everywhere in YouTube. I do video, of course. And for the course, I have different memberships that I give access to the course to. So yeah, go to my website. Thebrilliancemethod.com is being redone, so you may or may not find it there, but go to ElysiaSkye.com for sure. I have a Patreon,
Mm.
and it's just patreon.com/The Brilliance Method. And one of the tiers there, it's only a $36 tier. I do a spiritual think tank once a month.
Wow.
And I'm thinking about giving access to the Brilliance Method to that tier just so they can have it. So if you want that, let me know. Go and comment, reach out to me, connect with me through my website, and let me know if you guys want that. So I know if I should include that or not. Otherwise, I occasionally do coaching containers. Sometimes I'll do these 90-day pop-up containers and give everyone access. I do a lot of virtual events. Depending on what's going on in the world, I am still working with clients one-on-one. I do readings, I do intuitive business coaching. And in February 2026, I'm hosting an in-person event called Clarity Camp. We're going to be doing goddess work on the beach at this beautiful hotel. And it's everything from sound healing, meditation, intuitive development, just so much of the stuff we talked about today, but embodying it, being together to do it. I try to keep things generally affordable. My VIP package does include one-on-one time with me and very yummy dinners and all that good stuff. So
Where is that
I'll
going to be
make
located? Just I'm curious.
in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Okay, in Florida. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was feeling, first of all, we're going to do it, and the last day is going to be on Valentine's Day, so I want it to be connected to love. And if people want to travel with their partner, then of course they can. And whether or not their partner wants to attend, that's fine. Generally, it's women, so this particular event is an all women event. So if your partner is not a woman and you want them to be there, then you could see them afterwards, the night of the 14th or whatnot. And then Sunday, we're not doing it. Usually I do weekends and we're working all day Sunday. But I was like, I want to give everybody Sunday off to just go play on the beach because February is like such a frigid time of year for so many people around the country and the world. So to come to the gorgeous beaches of Fort Lauderdale, where I grew up for 19 years, and actually be able to go swim in the ocean
It's a
is such a
gift.
healing thing. Oh my gosh, we go out in the
Yeah.
ocean and we chant. It is pure magic. So the website for that is retreat.thebrilliancemethod.com/clarity camp. I'll send that to you.
Sweet. It'll
Uh,
be in the show notes, everybody. So go check the show notes.
Fantastic. Yeah. And I've always made it invite only. And this is the first time I'm opening it up. So there'll be an
Okay.
application on the website too, once you check out and everything. But I really do trust Aimee that anyone who hears this that feels aligned to come, especially if they're in your audience, they're gonna be amazing. Like
I
I know,
love my community. I love the
yeah.
people in it. I love the messages. So for those of you listening, I always love when you send me a message, right? If you have my personal cell, you could literally text me and be like, I just listened to the podcast with Elysia and I loved this part, or this part resonated with me. I welcome you. If you don't have my personal line, you just message me on Instagram, right? Leave a comment, whatever, whatever your style. I love hearing feedback about the podcast and about the guests. It helps me pick, the guests with like, greater resonance when you guys let me know what you loved about the show. So, yeah,
Yeah. And when you comment on the show, it helps us grow the show. It tells all the, Apple, Spotify, it tells them that people like the show. So they promote the show more on their end too. So please comment and let us know. We're paying attention.
absolutely. Thank you again for your time and for your beauty and for your brilliance. And I really look forward to being able to hang out with you again.
We will. We'll do this again. I hope you'll come on my show as well.
Oh, yay. Thank you.
You're welcome, Angel. Thank you.
Hey there, friend. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I would love to hear your thoughts. Follow me on Instagram at Aimee Takaya and send me a DM about this episode. I'd like to thank you for being part of this somatic revolution. And if you'd like to support the podcast and help more people learn about somatics, consider leaving a review or a rating. And finally, if you'd like to have the experience of relief in your tight hips or back and learn to understand what your body is really saying to you, visit youcanfreeyoursoma.com. I can't wait to share with you what is truly possible. Bye for now.